Thank you, everybody, for coming. Tonight is the February 27th Finance Committee meeting. We're going to go over budgets for Board of Health, Town Clerk, and Building Inspectional Services. Welcome.
Thank you.
Have you met everybody? I don't know if you've met Matt.
I don't think everybody.
That's all.
No, nice to meet you.
Do you remember everybody else you want us to go through?
Please.
Sure.
Stephanie Eastrick.
Barbara Christoforo.
Chad Lovett.
Cindy Whiting.
How's everything in the building department?
Busy. Very busy.
Do you want to go through this? Do you want to go? I know you brought a handout.
Yeah.
You guys have a copy of that?
Basically, the budget is showing mandatory increases for my existing secretary, contractual obligations, etc. I put 3% in there increase in my own salary, as that was the same thing that was mandated for the union employee. Everything else pretty much is level funded, except I put in for $30,000, I think it is roughly, for an additional secretary. I've come across required duties, and we're finding it very difficult, and we need help to comply with the required mandatory inspections that we have to do, and I need more help to process and track the functions of the office. And the one girl that I've got now, it's not possible to complete the obligations of the office. I know it's a tough budget season for you guys, and I seem to hear the same thing. Times are tough, and during my my education, testing, and training for the commissioner, administration of the building department, I was tested on, and ideally the funding would be through fees would equal the operating expenses. It's not what's going on. The building department consistently shows a profit, and that's because it's understaffed, not because the fees are too high. And please take one. Too many of the fees are not being spent on not enough of those fees are being spent on the department, and I need some of them to be spent to hire that girl or guy, another additional employee. And it's my responsibility to make you aware of the situation that exists. Do you have any questions for me? I invite any of you and all of you to come down to the department and see what goes on down there.
How many hours did you anticipate for this new person, if you were able to get one?
I'd put her on for a full-time, 32 hours a week. The budget here shows a $33,000 plus a surplus, including paying for funding this additional employee. The other handouts that you've got here are, the first one shows how I would intend to split up the duties, and the 3 or 4 other documents show that some of the things that I'm required by law and by the bylaws to complete, and we're having difficulty doing that and tracking it as well.
On the first page here, the fee structure revision, can you give some detail on that?
Plumbing, gas, and wiring haven't been, those fees have not been revised since '05 or '06, and they are way low. I have done a survey of similar surrounding towns, and I'm going to be proposing to the manager and selectmen for fee revisions with regards to that, as well as some additional fees that we do not have on the books right now for towers, in-law affidavits that were required to, by the zoning bylaws, to record and receive from people with legal in-laws each year. We haven't been able to keep up with that. That's a non-funded thing that we do now. 3 families and over are supposed to be inspected once every 5 years, and we haven't been able to complete that, and there is no fee for that. It's never been done in the town. And there are a couple of other things that we want to take a look at as well. Zoning, we have some other permit review things with regards to solar projects, and the fees associated with those, temporary signs, those communication towers that we're required to get certification from every year, FAA, FCC, that type of thing, and a fee associated with that. There is no fee for that. And didn't bring a list and plan on going through any of those because they will generate, in my opinion, as if they are approved, and I have no reason to think they wouldn't be, to offset probably by about $10,000 the cost of the new employee. Not included in this, obviously, is the cost of their health care and potential retirement. That's not included in here. That's something that the town I haven't addressed.
So
More questions?
Between the increase, looking at the fee structure, restructuring it, between that increase and then some fees that we aren't currently collecting, I think it would be around ballpark.
We've got to collect an
somewhere
extra $10,000 to offset the 30 by, so it's the net 20 more.
Just one quick question, Marshall. What format is the data, for instance, on the in-law apartments? Is that a spreadsheet where those are all logged? Is that a access database? Just what format do you keep that in?
We had them on a database, and that was, we had somebody running the database along with certificates of inspection. And
Do you know what kind of, was it an Excel spreadsheet?
I think it was an Excel spreadsheet, and it was partially destroyed, unfortunately. So and we haven't had time to sit down. We do have the ability, but the time to regenerate and put that back together as well.
When did
We
that-
need somebody
when did
to,
that happen? Do you remember? We have a-
6 months ago. It still exists, but part of it has been compromised. And we have the data. It just has to be put together appropriately and tracked. And there's a chasing that goes along with all these things. You have to keep
Just curious.
at everybody to do this, and you just can't send out a letter and everything comes in and we're done.
Well, we know that.
So I have to ask, how is it compromised? Like, how does that happen?
I think they wrote over different lines and wrote over permits, and
Just because of, like, older computer
no,
programs, or-
somebody was using it who didn't know how to use it, and overwrote the data. We have the information, it's just
Yeah.
an existing permit that was there for a certificate of inspection or whatever has been, going to use that as a template for the next one, and you write in the new information and destroy the old one.
Anybody else? That's it? Yeah, more, I just looked
Yeah,
down
well,
to you.
I just wanted to see if we could go line by line, just the increases.
Okay.
Not line by line every, but do you have this particular sheet, the budget report?
You want to use mine, you use mine, I don't use yours.
Okay.
All right? That's why I gave you a new one, and we can go over mine line by line that you don't know. No, it's the same thing, I
Just
think.
the increases.
The increases,
Or decreases, just the lines that have a change.
salaries,
Okay, then let me ask specifically, I'm sorry. I
salaries,
thought-
where is obviously the increases.
So there's the salaries, and then there's the inspections.
Oh, in terms of the expenses, or are you talking in terms
Down
of,
the bottom, because we already went over the salary.
51,
10 inspections at $50 each.
yeah. And it looks like that was just, there was just an input of 500 for that. So is that just a change or a reallocation from somewhere?
What's this here?
51?
It's the last line of page 1 on your handout.
The 100% increase on the bottom.
Yeah, no, I see it. Do I remember what it is off the top of my head? That is for when I'm sick, if I get sick. It's for somebody else to do the inspections. I'm not allowed to get sick or take a vacation according to this budget here. If I get sick for 3 or 4 days, we're in trouble. Now, what I have is an agreement with another town. I'll come in and do something for him if he needs it for nada, and he has done it for me. But that's not an appropriate thing to have happen. If I got sick, I'd be in trouble. So I put in 10 inspections for, something, people can't wait, and it has to be done, and I'm sick, or I can't get there, or something like that. That's what I put in for that. Fortunately, I don't get sick, and the only vacations I take are long weekends. I can't go away. I don't have anybody else to do it, or any money in there for that.
You just have sick time in your contract.
My contract,
You're stuck.
yeah.
Marshall, how much are you proposing those permits to go up? Like, what's an average cost of a permit now? And I know that some of these have increases. How much are you proposing that they be bumped up? Like
There's not a pile of dough in terms of, the building permit fees are based on the cost of construction. I'm not proposing any increase in that. That goes along with, it's a flat percentage goes along, building permit fees go along with the cost of construction. The cost goes up, the materials go up, the permit goes up, it follows, it adjusts itself. Plumbing, gas, and electric are different. They're based more on the cost of the inspection. And it's probably, $20%. I would guess off the top of my head. I never have, I haven't looked at it in a bit because I thought we were going forward with looking at this, and that's one of, it's on my list of things to attack, but this, I didn't realize I'd have to be trying to project how much more income we'd be receiving from plumbing, gas, and electric fees. I didn't
just
see it as a,
curious.
I mean, is it going to be something? Yes.
It just, I was, I guess, more
And
curious.
we're looking
that
in
it-
here, as I'm looking at it right now, looking at it the way you're looking and saying, well, we've got $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and what could you be looking at, another 20%? So you're looking at another 10 grand or something
I
like
was just more
that.
curious, like if they were $50 now to get a permit, just for the sake of talking, and you were
If
thinking
30,
of.
35, and they're gonna be 45, or
So that it's
something
not that,
along
you know,
those
if it was
lines.
gonna be like double or something, my thought would be like, is that gonna just deter people from even pulling them? So, you know, that it
Oh,
was just a
no,
minimal.
no, they're gonna be
Just a minimal amount of
comparable
increase is
to
fine.
a town of, a very similar town. We're not gonna use Dover and Wellesley, and we're not gonna use Fall River. You know, we're gonna use comparable towns, and it's what they would expect. You'll have people come in, plumbers, and electricians, going, wow, you're way low. And they're not complaining, they're happy, but, I mean, it's too low. And,
The next in this. Good?
Yeah, thank you.
Can I just put up one real, kind of unrelated, but I know we discussed it briefly last night, but the vehicle in his department is probably gonna be turning over, getting rid of his vehicle, and so we'll probably have to be moving a little bit of money at town meeting, just a few $100s maybe, just to get his expense account for the year, because there are some expenses with switching that vehicle over, needs a paint job. We don't want him driving around a striped, Charger with, looking like a police officer. So that's just, it's
Get people on the way.
unrelated to the budget for next year, but just something to just have on your radar screen.
Okay.
Nothing
Okay.
major, but be aware of.
Who does that? Does Votech do it?
I'm sorry?
Bring it over to Votech and let them paint it?
I don't actually know how we're gonna pull that off yet. I think that's always a great idea if you can get in line though, because sometimes they've got a significant line of work. That's all.
Thank you.
The line apportioned by the amount of budget we paid.
what,
If not, Rick's gonna put on an apron and
Yeah,
spray,
that's right,
spray can.
that's right. It's called graffiti.
That's it.
Not if you put an apron on, it's not.
I think that's it. Thank you, Marshall.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Next, yes. Next is Sharon White, Board of Health.
Hi, folks.
61. How's everything?
Very, very busy. I was going to just give you a little
want to introduce your board member?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I
It's a
apologize.
very, very formal meeting, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is one of, I apologize. This is one of our Board of Health members, Donna Hoffman.
Nice to meet you. Nice
You
to
want
meet
to go
you.
around?
Wouldn't mind knowing who you all are.
Deb Lee. Cindy Whiting.
Chad Lovett.
Barbara Christoforo.
Stephanie Eastbrook?
Matt Sala.
Nice to meet you, Bob.
Apologize for that. I've been here almost 4 years, and in the past few years, I've tried to be resourceful in grant writing and internships. I have probably brought in close to $94,000 in grant money. Most of it's through DEP for either the recycling toter rebate or grants for the school district's recycling program, education materials for recycling for the residents. Recently, I obtained a grant for $25,000 for our trash waste reduction coordinator, which you'll see from this year's budget has been removed from the line item we had last year. And also recently a $500 grant from the Department of Public Health for a nutritional program we presented to the residents of Abington. And lastly, I've applied for and I have received 6 interns so far, either through applying to Boston University Master's Degree Program for Public Health, or the Department of Public Health programs for internships that they pay for during the summer. So where I can't necessarily, even though I'd love to request, and it's in there for a part-time person, I know reality speaks usually otherwise. I try to make it up in other ways. It doesn't cost the town money, but also helps me a great deal because it's almost impossible to do this job literally by yourself. The other part I want to add to that, in the beginning of July of last year, I started tracking on an Excel spreadsheet the complaints that come into my office that I have to do inspections for or accountability for. And thus far, since the beginning of July, there's been 78 separate complaints that I've had to do inspections for, and probably at least 99% of those require follow-up inspections that are not normally just one re-inspection. With that, there's 29 tobacco inspections that I do, 3 tanning salons, 150 food establishments twice a year, 2 pools, body art establishments, rabies clinics, hazardous waste day, and emergency preparedness. So I just want to bring to your attention, it's a vast amount of responsibility that the the Board of Health has. And because there's just one person out there in the field, I've tried to use other resources to help me out with it. So that's my first background piece. The other part I just wanted to go over, I have actually reduced some of my budget before you guys do. So I just wanted to go over some of it. Under the salaries budget, if it's okay on the first page, the $6,250, I'm not changing. That is what the allotment is that the town needs to pay for the grant that I received for 2 years for our trash recycling coordinator. It is less than what we paid the last 2 years because this is grant funded, which also is less than what her salary was last year, plus they also will be paying in part of the grant her stipend for mileage.
Sharon, I don't know what line that is.
Yeah, I can't.
I'm sorry, it's under waste collection. Oh, you do have a different format?
39, not 61.
I got 61.
39's fire from us. Do you know the line number?
Yes, 001-4300-5110-0500.
Okay, so page 59. Okay.
You see where I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, back,
So
back a
59.
page, yep, got it.
The next one is the trash budget, which is what we had put in last year. The only difference is we're including the South Shore Recycling yearly membership in with that. The compost budget, which is 001-4300-5294-0500. We had put in for 17,000. I'm asking for 15, and the reason I'm asking it for that high is we, in the compost budget, we pay for the grinding of Christmas. I'm
I
sorry.
think the confusion is that right now Sharon's working off the waste collection budget, not the Board of Health.
Oh, we settled that minutes
Did you
ago.
already figure that
Yeah.
out? Well, I was trying to figure it out
Yeah.
separately.
We're on page 59 now, Rick.
Sorry to hold everybody up here, but yeah.
It's all right.
Are you back on the
I'm
same?
with you.
Okay.
Sean solved it.
All right, thanks, Sean.
We pay for Christmas tree curbside grinding and pickup. Not the pickup, but sorry, the grinding. We pay for the CRTs, which is the computers and televisions that come out of there, and it's usually collected probably 3 times a year. We pay for the grinding and screening of the compost, and we have not had any screening that I'm aware of since I've been here. And the last grinding we had was 2 years ago. It was almost $7,000. So I just think it's really important to keep that amount as high as possible. And in with that, I'm trying to look into trying to buy some cameras. We've had a lot of illegal dumping in front of the compost gate, and it would be very beneficial if we could get some cameras down there to either catch a few people and make a statement, or, you know, at least try to resolve some of the illegal dumping that's going on down there.
I have a question.
Sure.
That's going up to 17?
No, I'm dropping it to, last year we had asked for, I think it was 16, and it was cut to 9. I put down 17 originally, but I'm gonna reduce that to asking for 15.
Thank you.
The Sharps disposal program, I'm asking for 500 instead of 800.
Sharon, is that, never mind. Keep going, sorry.
Okay. One of the reasons that has been very beneficial is I work with the fire department with the same contract, and we sort of shift off of who has the most boxes each month, of who's paying for it. So it's worked out really well. Hazardous Waste Day, I'm asking for 3,500. We ran a little bit short a year ago, and I just want to make sure that we don't have to come before special town meeting to request more. Okay, I think that's it for that page. Hold on.
Does anybody have any questions on the waste collection?
Just the decrease here in dues and fees budget appropriation.
Which ones?
It's just a decrease in the dues and fees.
5730. $4,500.
That went up under the trash.
Oh, that's actually now in the trash budget instead.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm now on to the health department actual budget. Just to explain a little bit, the rabies clinic really it is what it is. Like, for instance, whatever we bring in, we pay Dr. Curtin's office half of it. So it's there for just in case we ever need something extra. The legal summons for court processing, I'm going to reduce to $250 instead of $5 because we haven't even used it this year. And I think if we ever had a situation that had to be more than that, I would probably ask the town manager if we could. You have a legal fund too out of yours, correct, if we needed it?
Well, we have a general, yeah.
Right. Right.
Encompassing legal budget.
This is, just to explain, if I have to do civil cases, I think I talked about this last year, that you have to pay the sheriff for the service. Thus far, whenever I've had to do it, I've always had the court make sure that the person I was taking to court reimbursed the town. So right now, we've never had a loss with it. The burying of dead animals, I'm going to also reduce back to $250. We have never had to use that as yet. I think I explained that pretty graphically last year, if you remember. what that was for. There's, you don't need to hear it again, no.
Sure, Rick?
I think it's pretty well stayed in their minds from last
I
year.
remember it.
Yeah.
As soon as I walked in and saw her face, that was the first thing.
Yeah, that's not a pretty thought.
Tomorrow.
The advertising budget, I think it's in two different yeah, the $300. The reason I increased the advertising budget is to put an ad in the paper, which we have to do a lot for, like, we recently changed our tobacco regulations. It actually took the entire amount. If you look at, like, we're down to, like, I think it's 10% left of that budget. And we're working on right now dumpster regulations, and I'm just using 300 as an amount in case we do more than one regulation of revising it this year. I just wanted to have at least enough in there too, in case we did two. It's amazing how expensive legal ads are. Do you have any oh, sorry.
This is minor. I'm looking at the roll zeros for the advertising budget.
Well, there's two, what it is two different, for some reason, some of these are sort of like duplicate line items, yeah.
So you're referring to?
I'm referring to the one that actually is the, ends with 0500, but it's 5308, 0500, yeah, yeah. Okay to go forward?
It's a silly, it's a silly question, maybe it's a Sue question, but for charting of accounts, why do we have to use it twice?
I don't know.
That would be
Yeah.
a Sue question.
That's a Sue.
That would not be a Sue question. Sue wasn't here to set them up. But we have noticed over the last 2 years with the accounting, you know, as we're doing this, that we do need to clean up the software and make some accounts inactive. But when you're making them inactive, then you don't see the activity of those accounts if they were budgeted here 1 year and here another year.
You can't
So we're
combine
trying to
them.
get it so that it lines up for a 4-year period and then make those accounts inactive once they're no longer showing on your report. So it's just so that you have to leave it here so that you can see, at one point it was budgeted here, and now it's budgeted here. So but try to make everybody.
I actually asked the same question yesterday to her, because I was trying to get it cleaned up myself, yeah,
Sure do like Excel.
yeah.
Well, just as a matter of just kind of point of clarification, like 5338, which is one you just were referring to, there's a budget increase in there. Maybe the budget increase should have been 5.
Right, and the reason, I totally agree with you, but the reason I referred back to that one was because that's where the money came out of this last year for that one bill. Yeah, so it's confusing,
Goofy beyond all the others.
yeah. I'm sorry?
It's goofy beyond all
Yeah,
the others.
yeah, I agree. The postage budget, I went up just because of the fact the postage went up. And we do a lot of mailings, especially for permits, and then all notice to correct orders have to be sent certified plus regular mail. The telephone budget is staying the same as last year. Printing, I'm going to reduce down to 500 instead of 1,000. This particular line item is specifically for, I have to buy state-required inspection forms, and we were budgeted $250 last year, which is really going to be quite short because, or possibly, because we're at $216 right now, because of the fact that I go through a lot of inspection forms because there's so many food establishments, and they have to be done, like I said, twice a year. The office supply budget, I'm going to reduce back down to 1,000. I don't think we necessarily need $2,500 for what we use. Doesn't this sound good? The next one, which is the gas and oil budget, that's the $3,000 for my car that is appropriated for mileage and then maintenance. The other, I'm keeping, let me just see what else
Is
I
that
can.
allocated somewhere else?
Yes, there is one, well, what's weird about my budget here is there's also $1,000 allocated when my car, the town car, is being used by other people, that I have to use back, I go back to using my own car. It's just the way it's,
That's
that's why,
travel.
yeah.
Right, but in this one, it looks like there was no previous amount.
No, because prior to this, there wasn't a town car for me. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I had been driving my own car. And what happened was I ended up getting like, it was called like a pool car. And I drive it mostly more than anyone else, but then at times when there's other people that need to use it, I revert back to my own car.
I think that point is well stated. I think the question, again, and this is my naive mind, when I think gas and oil, I think you're heating a physical plant.
No.
When I think travel, I think mileage reimbursement, and I think the associated expenses with that. That's the real reason why I think she asked the question.
Oh, is that what you meant? I apologize. Okay, no, it's for the maintenance and the inspection and the gas for it.
Right, but so the question, the challenge back is why wouldn't we put it in travel versus put it in the gas and oil one? It doesn't matter, this is more of just a technical. I would ask Sue, but she's gonna yell at me.
So Sean, you're looking for 5480 to go into 5710.
It was a style point, and I'm fearful of the hold-up newspaper, so I'm just gonna move on.
All right.
I think your point was well made, though, and I like the retreat.
Okay.
Very good, well done.
The only other couple reductions would be dues and fees. I think is $350 is appropriate instead of $500. And then the last one for the public health nursing, I did talk to Norwell VNA this morning and found out that they are not going to increase our budget, so you can reduce that to $15,000. That would be the, I'm sorry, the last is 5220.
That's on our next
Yeah.
page.
Okay. Okay, so if you have any questions?
Well, no, it's just more, I think the trash, I can give you one person's experience from a handful of households.
Okay.
I think the trash is fantastic. I think the program's actually, at least exceeded the expectations of the neighborhood for which I happen to.
Thank you. I think it has too.
With that stated, is there, what part of the contract are we in, what year of the contract, how much we have left?
We will, this current contract ends June 30th, 2015, so probably some point next fall, we would be preparing to go out to bid, preparing the proposal to go out for bid. So there is another round that's coming shortly, yeah.
You seem to have a lot of stats with you. Do you happen to know what the tonnage reduction would have been, or has been rather, since the implementation of the new program?
I don't have that on me, but I know it's, I guess probably 2 or 3 years ago, the budget was like $1 million something, and we're actually, I think are we like around 770,000 right now, which is a good amount of decrease. And I know that recycling has gone up and trash has gone down. We also have been trying to implement other programs such as the textile programs. You've seen the boxes at the schools, which is great because, again, the weight of that is out of the trash. Plus, I've contracted with Bay State Textile that for every ton, these particular school gets $100 towards their PTOs for whatever use they want to use it for. So there's things that we've really tried to work with. Yeah.
Just last, this is a landfill question. I think this is for Rick and for you, I'm not certain. What is the status of the capping of the landfill? I happen to notice the appropriation came from April 2010. Gave a certain amount of cash, it's 77 grand thereabouts, it's in the budget now.
Well, as you know, the town does engage the services of Kleinfelder and formerly SEA.
And Steve Wright, yeah.
And they have been the town's consulting engineer, and just recently, in fact, this past month, a environmental comprehensive site assessment was filed with DEP. And part of that process is to determine whether or not we actually do need to cap it at all. So stay tuned. That was literally just filed in February. So, in fact, Mr. Kleinfelder is coming in front of the Board of Selectmen March 24th to provide an update on this on that status. Whether or not there's substantive response from DEP by that time with regard to the filing, I don't know yet. We'll find that out. the double-edged sword here is if it's determined that the town is not required to cap the landfill, there will probably be nothing the town could ever do up there for probably generations to come. So if the town does have any other plans, whether it's renewable energy or anything else that we want to put on the drawing board at some point, we probably would have to cap the landfill. So that's going to be a balancing act in terms of what we all feel is the best financial balance there. So to be concise, which I know isn't always easy for me, we're still waiting to see what DEP is going to require of us in terms of the capping project.
Do you track those statistics? Is that something you can get back to us with, the tonnage?
Yes, I can. I can actually, if you want an email or send me one, we actually have it on a spreadsheet that you're welcome to see.
Are you that interested, Sean?
I am, actually.
Okay.
It's just, again, over 10 years of being on this group, you've seen just arguments over trash and what we have for either underfunding or overfunding, what the issues are. And like I said, I think that the community looks that much cleaner in here. It's great to see it covered, for one, all the water not getting in there. And the aesthetics alone, I think, are working. So, yeah, very curious.
Who is the Board of Health liaison?
Well, Sharon, if you email it to me.
Do you want to follow up? And
Yeah, I'll email
If
it,
you email
yeah.
it to me, I'll email it to the chairman.
Yeah, I can get it, yeah.
Thank you.
I just-
So we all have it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
You had mentioned there's 2 pools.
Two pools, yes.
I was just wondering what the second one was.
One's at Abington, Ivana, on Route 18.
Okay.
And I'm talking about semi-public pools, they're called. And the other one's at the Woodlands, over on Summer Street. And they have to be inspected once a year or by complaint. Yeah.
Barbara's going to be.
Sorry, Sharon, what was the first one?
Abington, Ivana, on Route 18 on Bedford Street. And the second one's at the Woodlands on Summer Street. Okay. Now, did you notice I didn't mention the part-time inspector? It's in there, but
Could I just say that as a member of the Board of Health, I have been immensely impressed with the amount of work that this woman does. One person. And the board itself, the Board of Health members, would strongly support and advocate for at least a part-time available person for a sheriff to be able to complete all the duties that are required of this department. There's legal mandates that she has to meet, the inspections, and when I came on board, not even a year ago, I was just amazed at what the responsibilities are of the quote Board of Health. But the Board of Health members are all volunteer members of the committee, and this is actually the person who's out in the field doing everything. And I know that interns are an awesome thing to have. I'm a nurse, I work in Boston, and I know what it's like to have students come and help on the floor, but it's never a guarantee. So if there was actually somebody who was there on a regular basis, was another point person that the town could go to, we could all benefit from it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will say, I do have a great agreement with the town of Whitman. It's like a mutual agreement of understanding that when I'm on vacation, he covers for me, I cover for him. I try to do it only on emergencies, but there are great ways that you can help each other, especially when you're sort of in the same field, so that does help too. Thank you.
And I think that
Okay.
goes back to something Marshall said too, because it's very, very common among communities to share.
You have to. And one of the things actually public health is looking at in the near future is regionalization anyways, because there's so much going on with it, but it's hard because there's so few of us to even stretch around, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi.
I feel bad I didn't bring anyone.
Would you like us to go around the table? Did you listen to the last two?
Okay.
All right. How's everything in the town clerk's office?
Very good.
Great. I'm gonna go through,
You go up.
Thank you.
hit the increases.
Sure. Do you want to go line by line or just the ones that I already know?
if we could go line by line for the increases.
Absolutely. Are we on the same page? I don't know what page
So
it
we-
is.
I'm looking at, it starts with 1610.
Page 18.
Page 18. Should we be on a different one?
What do I have? I don't have 18. 1610?
Yeah,
Okay,
1610.
groovy.
5110, 1610.5110.
You know what? Let me
Yeah,
try
put your
this.
glasses on.
Okay. It's not set.
And you gotta skip through your revenues.
Yeah, because we're skipping through all that. I said that, so my only big thing is,
Starting here.
oh, so we get to go to the good one first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The increase is because I would like to have a full-time staff member with me.
Leanne,
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
going to have to speak up, honey.
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
that was loud on that.
Okay, so adding a full-time, is that the assistant town clerk line?
Yes.
Okay.
Point of clarification, you said in the list, how many staff members do you have in there that are full-time aside from yourself?
No.
Just yourself?
I have myself and a part-timer.
So the point is, there's only one full-time person in the
Correct.
clerk's office?
Yes.
Are you looking to?
Increase her to full.
So the net add is a half person, and which is the benefit side, we already have a part-time.
Correct.
That's-
Yes. Which was a full-time position before, and then reduced because of the budget.
Okay.
So that's readjusting that back to full-time at
When
32, 40.
When I was the assistant, I was never really given an increase, so it's kind of like park and rec type rate. And then I did eventually get an increase when I became the assistant town clerk, but it still wasn't. So what I'm trying to do with my assistant is put her in with other administrative assistants with that salary. And I chose the one right in the middle. I didn't go high or kind of the one in the middle.
Now, just a clarification, right now, the office assistant is not technically an assistant town clerk.
Correct.
So there is all that statutory authority and the responsibility that comes with that. So right now, there's, the assistant town clerk, as stated, is a little bit of a misnomer versus what's in the office right now, just for people to understand that.
But if the position was full-time, it would be an assistant town clerk with the,
Well, that would be a decision to be made.
okay.
You know, but
Exactly.
it wouldn't make sense not to do that under those circumstances.
And the FTE increase, would it be is that person at 20 going to 40 or?
She's 19.5, going to the 32.
Great, thank you.
The next one is balance.
Oh, oh, yeah, that's funny. Then the next increase I have is the dog tag line item on 1610-5599.
We get balance.
Yeah.
There's one
Was
for
he gonna
balance.
talk about balance?
$605. What is it?
I wanna know
Balance,
what
600, I don't
is.
have, I wish I had what you guys are
It's
looking at. Why don't I-
5261. I'm sorry, it's,
Oh,
Yeah, it
that's the general code. That's
Town
actually a
code.
warrant article from last year. So the 605 is actually remaining, so it doesn't really need to be there. It's going to get carried in from this year into next year.
I'm glad
So
I
it's
brought
not-
a friend. How come I don't have this one?
Have I mentioned how much I like Excel spreadsheets?
so the next one is 5599. It's the other
According to
supply.
what I'm looking at, yes.
All right.
So dog tags?
Dog tags.
And is that kind of in between pages? Is that, is that 0 and it's now being put at 253?
I have it at 220. and just trying to guesstimate what it would go up to be.
And for the record, I can see the confusion. I'm following her document, you guys are jumping all over the place, and she and I are looking at, what are you even talking about?
Thank you,
The
Sean.
dog tags and the word balance are what 8 other items that are in there.
Yes.
From bookline all the way down to supplies and other.
Thank you, Sean.
Well, and to us, the dog tag line actually looks like other supplies budget. So,
Is that
It
self-supporting? So the money that comes in, whatever it is, the $10, does it eventually cover that?
We get more, actually, yeah.
Great.
And the next one I have for an increase would be under election, 1620, 5120.
yeah.
And that one that's just kind of a guesstimate because that's based on, we do not have a choice of the police officers that work for us or, kind of sign up. So if it's like a sergeant or their salary is a little higher than, so I did a worst case.
That looks like it's only postage.
Yeah,
Postage is the only other one.
for the census 5340.
Yes, well, I did that according to whatever, the postage is gonna go up by, just doing it that way.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Questions?
Registrars went up a little bit too.
The register, postage,
Well, you know, the registrars, I'm sorry, the postage go up.
yes.
Have to look at the sum line. The last silly piece, with the increase, you have a great budget explanation at the bottom as to what you're looking at based on Nancy cuts, et cetera. So with the staffing increase, is there also an hourly wage increase as well?
There would be, yes.
So I think it's at 24 and a half is what the proposed number is per hour, based on 32 hours per week, the 40 divided by the 1664.
Yes.
What is that percent now?
1586 for an hourly.
Right now, 50?
Yes.
I just want to address something Rick had mentioned, so does that, that's a big delta, right, $9 an hour is a big delta. Does that address the statutory authority that you mentioned that kind of gets bestowed upon an assistant town clerk who then does carry the responsibilities of the office in Leanne's absence? I'm just curious as to, because it's a broad range.
Well, the money's not the issue, it's the status. I mean, if somebody was appointed as, I'm missing your question, Hyde.
My question was, I'm trying to understand where they were doubling the salary, thereabouts. That's my question, and I was looking to back into an explanation as to why.
Yeah.
And I was trying to give a little bit of an
No.
olive branch.
I think I'm with you now, thank you. Basically, one of the things you do is, this is a position that would move to a different level of the collective bargaining agreement. So with that comes different pay requirements. So that's really what the difference in base pay would be. Am I correct, Sue? That would be,
Yeah.
that would be the difference really in terms of hourly rate. Now, if the intent was not to bring someone to the level of an assistant town clerk and just have an assistant, office assistant, without that statutory authority, then obviously you would be needing that hourly increase. So does that address your question a little more? Thank you.
And I guess my only other question would be, if you're going from a part-time person to a full-time person, is that going to then have a domino effect with regard to health insurance and costs and everything else? And then was that allocated into that already?
No.
Okay.
Well, yes and no. Yes. The eligibility would be there, whether or not the
Mhm.
employee would partake is,
Right.
that would be their option.
But it's accounted for somewhere in here?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not. That would have to be dealt with in the other, health insurance budget,
Yeah.
all the other care, all the other payroll, inflationary budgets that are impacted by that.
Didn't there used to be the town clerk, the assistant town clerk, and a secretary?
And then there was a part-time,
A part-time?
way back, yes.
So you were cut the part-time
Mhm.
completely out?
Yes.
And then the assistant town clerk was a part-time, and then the town clerk was a full-time?
Yes, and then they increased the assistant
To,
to the 32.
and now it.
When Mrs.
when you
Adams left, that was
the
it.
position, then that,
Correct, there was nobody, it was just me. They
right.
took
and
away that
now you just
position as
have
well.
Okay.
Yes.
Which was the only position last year department last year to lose somebody, or
Correct.
hours or something. So this would just be
Putting it back the way
the way it was like a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I want to hear it all right, and as I keep processing it in my mind, which is clearly not what the rest of the world hears. It's a restoration of service to the community, is that not correct? So if you're going to get more people in, you have more time and attention, so that's what this comes down to. It's not just adding to government. but it's
Absolutely,
adding to government.
yes,
And just a restoration because we lost something, it's an increase in service.
yes.
And if you're out, she can't, because she
There's
doesn't
certain
have
things-
the ability to swear someone in, or.
Or to sign, to use my stamp, or to say, there's a lot
Right.
of things that you can't.
So,
So go ahead.
And with her, with that position being part-time, if I am on vacation or I want to go to a workshop or a meeting, it's pretty difficult, because actually this morning the office was closed for an hour.
you have to close because you can't.
I just putting on the personnel hat, and this is not to gum up the works at all. And this is absolutely no reflection on the person who is in the part-time position right now, but if you, presumably there are requirements for a position at a different classification. So whether or not that position would be advertised, those are decisions that would have to be made if the budget
Right.
would seem to warrant or allow for that. So, I mean, we have to at least be cognizant of that. So, and again, it's not a reflection of the person holding the part-time job right now at all. That's not the point.
But the intent in this would be to restore the department back to where it was previously and to be able to provide the services equal to where it was last year.
Correct.
This is more so for Sue, and maybe Leah, who's not here, I'm not certain. Could you put your personnel hat on for a second, so I'll just ask you personnel related
That's what
question.
you get for putting on
Of
hats.
the total compensation for this proposed employee, we have the wage listed, what's the percent, or what is the benefit cost, assuming that they accept full benefits?
I don't know exactly what it is right now at Abington, but usually it's gonna be between 28 and 33% would tend to be the general municipal markup, and I would think that we're at a, 70-30 split on health insurance. It's probably closer to the low 30% increase or add-on.
So just, again, back to the envelope calculations, if indeed the goal was to provide supplemental service and to support the operation of the town clerk based on its statutory requirements, i.e. Ms. Adams happens to be out and about and doing what she needs to do to ensure that she keeps the town running as she does, can you have a part-time assistant town manager, assistant town clerk rather? Is that a possibility? Reason why I ask that
It is legally possible, that's
So,
not.
so in my mind's eye, if you have somebody, just rough numbers, $15 an hour times 20 is $300 times 52 is $15,000. No benefits with a 19.5-hour employee, correct? So we're at $52,000 now based on wage and benefits for that one new person. Less out the 15 grand, so you see a net increase of roughly 37,000. Has to be is there another part-time employee to save a little bit, and can you get as much bang for your buck? Those are the thoughts, just again, those are the
It's a
thoughts.
good thought process. Yeah, it's a good thought.
Doesn't require an answer, it was more just.
Nope, it's well taken, well taken. I think in general, and particularly the last half a dozen years, as the issues, become more daunting with regard to OPEB and the condition of the pension system, trying to utilize part-time assistants in any way you can is definitely becoming, I think, more common. The other thing, too, is the qualifications of available people is probably greater than it's ever been. And I don't want to sound sexist here, but you have generations of college-educated women who getting back into the workforce or underemployed who, a generation ago, you don't have that pool of professionally trained people who've been in the workforce in professional positions. And so there's a lot of opportunity to hire qualified and even overqualified people for these jobs that didn't exist that long ago. So that's a broader statement that we've got to this office, but I think it speaks generally to your point, though.
Right, well, exactly, and that was the Leo question, I suppose, next with the treasurer collector, that would be what is the current unfunded pension liability that we have, and what is the retiree health insurance cost that we have to fret with, and we need to do a bunch, so it's good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred.
Next on the agenda. We'll skip that. We're gonna skip it, and we're gonna go right to liaison reports. Are there any liaison reports? Review of minutes next week. Correspondence, I didn't check the mail, I did it yesterday. Anybody? That's it?
Next meeting.
Next meeting is Tuesday.
Who's on our agenda for next
I
meeting?
can't tell you off the top of my head,
It's
and
a
I don't have a
surprise.
tablet.
That's okay.
Let me see.
It'll be on the agenda.
Yep,
and it'll be
totally
in your
just
email
curious. I
tomorrow
was
night.
just curious.
Next week, we're meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tuesday and
And
Wednesday.
I am not going away on Wednesday.
Fabulous.
They have the school department.
That's what I was thinking.
It's next week, is it? It's
Either one of the days next week. I think VOTEC might be the other day or the same day.
The other days.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm abstaining.
All those abstaining? Thanks.
Killing me.
Oh.